Well, welcome to the next episode of A Taste of Working a Light. Last episode we discussed what it looked like to stand firm, to not be moved from God's purposes. We do so by standing firm in what the Apostle Paul describes as God's armor. So, in our battle against powerful, unseen, and evil spiritual adversaries, God has provided us with 7 pieces of spiritual armor. Though invisible, they should be experienced by everyone who interacts with us. And the first piece of this armor is truth. Stand firm, then, Paul says, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist. That you'll find in Ephesians 6, verse 14. History is littered with the names of leaders, organizations, and countries that have succumbed to a failure in truth. Many of our institutions have had failures of truth. Business and government, education, media, medicine, and even religious institutions have had leaders who failed the truth test. So let's unpack this metaphor. The Apostle Paul probably wrote this while under house arrest in Rome. This meant that he was forced to rent a home or maybe a room in which he would live chained 24/7 to a Roman guard until his hearing was held. Now, the soldier most likely wore this daily armor, which consisted of basic pieces, the foremost of which would probably seem pretty unimportant. It was the belt. It would have been the very first thing a Roman soldier would have put on in donning the rest of his armor. It held the entire ensemble of Roman armor in place, including the breastplate, a battle sword, and possibly even a field knife. Like today's belt, it fit completely around the person's waist and was made of thick, stiff leather. Unlike today's belts, leather straps kind of draped down to cover the soldier's thighs and hamstrings and protected the soldier from sword slashes toward the upper leg and the backside. Now, the Apostle Paul equated truth to a belt that someone kept placing completely around themselves. You see, the way the words are constructed, it's kind of like keep belting yourself with truth. It's not a finished one-time action. You keep doing it. In effect, Paul is kind of taking the noun truth and he's turning into a verb, truthing. Keep truthing. Keep belting it around yourself. Don't ever go anywhere. Cinch it up again. Make sure it's on every day, every moment. So, when a person employs truth in every part of their life, we call that integrity because they have integrated truth throughout their life. There's not a time, there's not a place when truth isn't present in their life. People experience that when they come across people of truth. So the significance of truth being pictured as a warrior's belt is kind of threefold. First, truth is like a belt because it supposedly completely encompasses us, just like the belt encompassed totally around a soldier. Second, like a belt of a Roman soldier, it holds together the other components of his armor. Truth holds together righteousness and faith. Can't be righteous if you're not telling the truth. And third, truth is like a belt in that it's the very first thing that was put on by a soldier, and it was the last thing that they took off. It was part of the soldier's daily routine. Truth needs to be part of our daily routine. We need to be belting ourselves in truth every morning, every time during the day, even in the evening. It's the last thing we take off before we go to bed. Let me give you an illustration of this. There's a man that I discipled a number of years ago now, and he was actually really a violent guy. And he had come to know Christ, and his story was just amazing. But he would say to me, Wayne, he said, before my foot hits the floor in the morning, he says, I have to say to my dear Jesus, you be me today, because if I'm me, I don't know what's going to happen. You see, he knew he was a violent man, and he knew the only way to handle the violence that was in his life, the tendency to violence, was the truth of being in Jesus. That's the way he put on the belt of truth each morning. So, how do you put on your belt of truth each day? Reading God's Word, praying, reading devotions? What is it? What can you do that ensures that you put on that belt of truth and keep it on during the rest of the day? What truth is it that you have to put on each morning? This violent man knew that he had to put on the gentleness, the kindness of Jesus to combat his violent tendencies. So, what does truthing look like in your daily routine at work. So, if you work remotely from home, do you put in the full 8 hours, or do you kind of like do 6 or maybe 6.5? Do you deliver to clients what you promise? Do you tell them one thing and then kind of give them something else? Do your quotes contain hidden costs that increase the price of your services to your benefit? That's not truthing. Will you assist a coworker even if it means they get the credit and not you? That's a hard truth, to be able to be humble enough and gracious enough to help someone else get ahead. So anyway, think about it. How do you wear the belt of truth? Thanks for listening to another episode on Standing Firm. Today, standing firm in the truth. And until we meet again, work in the light.